So looking at selection of materials, there are many different ways that you can go about the selection of material process. You can think, okay, my number one goal is recycled content. So I want to use concrete in the house because I know it has fly ash, which is an industrial waste, so to speak. I want to use recycled glass tiles because they are a recycled product. I want to use recycled PET carpet because it is these water bottles turned into carpet. And that's my number one goal. So that could be your goal with respect to materials. Your goal could be energy savings. I want the most energy efficient products. So you might look at higher insulation values, and you might look at better mechanical equipment. There's just some examples here of bamboo flooring, cork flooring, recycled glass tile, PET carpet, reclaimed lumber. So glass tile, basically, we wonder where all of our recycled bottles go, and this is what happens to some of it. It's turned into recycled glass tile. Now it's $20 a square foot, so it's not, the cheapest option out there, but it's a great environmentally friendly product. Bamboo flooring, it's a rapidly renewable material. It grows to its full growth in 5 to 6 years. If it's not chopped down, it dies because it's a weed and it regrows. However, our bamboo flooring comes from China. So although it's rapidly renewable, does it make sense to put this on a giant tanker and bring it halfway around the globe to use it? Maybe, maybe not. It depends what your goal is. If your goal is using a renewable material, perfect. If your goal is reducing dependency on fossil fuel, slapping it on a tanker and bringing it halfway around the globe, maybe not the best thing to do. Cork flooring. Cork is a sustainably harvested product, so they shave the bark of the cork tree. They turn that bark into flooring products and wine bottles. Reclaimed wood, different companies out there will go, there's a company in Florida called Goodwin Heart Pine. They go on the old logging routes, they scuba dive and pull up the wood, they turn it into, again, different materials, trim and or flooring. So again, it's completely reclaimed. And then the recycled PET carpet, again, marmoleum is a natural linoleum product. So it's made from pine rosin, linseed oil, jute. It is inherently antibacterial, so it works great in wet areas like bathrooms and laundry rooms. It has a 25-year warranty. It's completely biodegradable. Lots of products coming out there with recycled rubber in them. So tiles now made from recycled rubber. We're seeing a lot of sidewalks and things like that made with recycled rubber components to them. Something to do with all of the tires that are sitting in our landfills. Great Grabz. This is a towel bar that has the strength of a grab bar. So if anyone does aging in place homes, this is an alternative to having something that looks like a Walmart bathroom stall in your bathroom. During construction, again, we talked about things like recycling on site, keeping clean job sites, using blower door tests, and sealing off ductwork so that we had clean ducts. So all of those things happen during the construction process to make sure that, again, the building that's turned over performs as it was designed to perform, as well as we're reducing that C&D. 1/3 of all the waste comes from the C&D industry, trying to reduce that. And then best management practices. So caulking areas and using elastomeric plumbing boots to become a physical barrier to termites, so to speak. So a lot of times by code, we usually have to, poison the crap out of the soil and then build on top of it or do some other integrated system. So this would be that non-poison based system, so to speak. Looking at the LEED certification, so all of the items in red are prerequisites. So considering the Florida Green Building Coalition has 2 prerequisites, NAHB has a half a dozen. When you go through the programs for LEED, you see that a lot of the prerequisites, they're not difficult, but they do require that you do some upfront planning. They do require that you have ENERGY STAR certification, looking at minimum erosion control standards and having no exotics as well. Going through water efficiency, there are tons of ways to save water, both indoors and outdoors. We're also seeing a lot of 3 of the water management districts now are requiring Water Star for any communities going through the DRI process. ENERGY STAR, again, is a minimum requirement, or you can go the prescriptive path. So they do give you an option of you have to meet all of these minimums and or this minimum performance. Certified lumber, that's probably one of the biggest challenges that we have, is because when you have lumber that is from a certified sustainable forest, you can harvest it, you can transport it and keep your chain of custody intact, but as soon as those individual pieces of wood go into a manufacturing plant, you have a challenge of maintaining the chain of custody. So a lot of truss manufacturers will not guarantee chain of custody. So a lot of people, if they're going after LEED specifically, look into steel versus wood for those instances. They do have minimum requirements for indoor air quality, and you'll see that they do require a minimum of the MERV 8. Sorry, it's red and doesn't show it very well. Looking at awareness and education being a key component, and then just some final stats. Looking at survey respondents to mainstream and green. So the folks that responded to this survey were design professionals, builders, contractors, some consultants, some developers. And what they were looking at is, where are we expecting to see the most green growth in the future? What sectors? And the biggest sectors we're expecting to see green growth are really the educational, the institutional, and the government areas, simply because these are owner-occupied buildings. And when you have owner-occupied buildings, they reap the benefit of green design. So when you design a structure, if we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% initial cost increase, if you're not owner-occupied, you're not going to see the payback from that initial investment. So if I'm an office building and I build an office building and then I lease it out to tenants, my tenants are getting the benefit of those lower energy costs. Offices, healthcare, hospitality, and retail are the other sectors expected to grow. Not to say residential isn't, but this is specific to a commercial because it's LEED NEC. So this is the USGBC study. Green completed projects. So of those respondents, they said, how many of you have done green projects? And what they found was about 15 to 16% had done none. Everyone else, or about 85%, had done some sort of green project. The biggest risk to pursuing certification, so we had people saying there was a lot of owner impact, the fear of not achieving certification, the lack of understanding or knowledge of green products, and concern that they're not tried and true and maybe it's a little bit unknown. So again, it goes back to education, and it goes back to, if you build it into the design, you don't have to buy all these newfangled products. Cost impacts, again, this is specific to this national study and respondents from these contractors. They were saying pretty much anywhere from 2% on up were the cost premiums to go after certified buildings, and the cost being a product of the size of the building, the location, the level of certification. So a lot of that does matter. As you get to bigger buildings, like I said, we do tons of habitat houses, but we don't necessarily do the LEED certification on those because LEED does have a cost premium. The USGBC is an organization. They're an organization of certifications. There's red tape, there's submittals, there's staffing. They have to pay for all of that. It's not that they're the only certification game in town. They're just the cream of the crop with respect to certification. So it depends also on your goals for a project or for a specific owner. This is my absolute favorite ad. I just like it. It says Gus is doing absolutely nothing to save the environment, but his Earthcraft House is. So Earthcraft House is an Atlanta certification for homes. So it's just one of those things that says, you know, we may not change our habits, but we can build to, again, conserve energy. So that's the whole side of the brain thing for me. And then what we're seeing with respect to this movement, people that maybe don't believe it's going to stay growing, is we really are seeing government involvement. Whether you're Republican or Democratic, it really doesn't matter, because getting on a soapbox and saying, I want to save the environment, is not a negative thing to do. So everyone's doing it. Looking at heightened demand and consumer awareness, we are seeing that. I'm getting to the point where we have builders call me that say this person won't sign a contract unless it's going to be a green house, and they want you to tell them it's going to be green.